Hi everyone, and welcome to a behind the scenes look at my Sunshine Coast training camp for Ironman Cairns 2023. So we're in Ironman Cairns race week, but for the past 4 or 5 weeks I've been dealing with 2 cracked ribs and a cracked sternum. So I guess I'll probably walk through what that looked like after the crash. So basically in the first week we cut the training back pretty heavily. I still did not train, I only actually had 1 day off, but we trained very simply. I adapted with using a snorkel. We took all the biking indoors to avoid any bumps, and we also took all the running indoors onto the treadmill. Once we got a firm diagnosis of what the issue was, then we could start to work towards like what we can do and how much we can push it. So we limited things like biking to sort of 3 hours. We kept a lot of the running inside, and I stayed with the snorkel. We pushed the snorkel probably the longest actually, and only just really started swimming normally in this past week. But that gave my body a chance to heal, but we still managed to maintain the volume, which is pretty cool. I guess the biggest thing I noticed during that time was that you can get a lot out of intensity as opposed to just pure volume. I think when we sort of took the view that the longer you're out there, the more you take away the energy from actually healing, and so we tried to do things within a shorter amount of time and get some punchy sessions done. So it seemed to work pretty well because basically in the past few weeks I've been doing some regular training, and nothing's really gotten worse or anything, so I'm pretty happy with where all the sort of energy is at and power and all those kind of things. So yeah, look, I think making the best of a bad situation, I'm pretty happy with how my team managed that, and I think it's through so much experience with injuries and things with through multiple different sports and backgrounds and things that we were able to work out what the best course of action was. But it led to, well, we had planned this camp, which was to be the lead up to Cairns, to make sure that everything was going well. And originally it was meant, I was in my mind, which I don't know whether it was accurate or not, but for me it was about pushing the envelope a bit leading into Cairns, but actually it became a bit of a week where we tested where things were at. And so we left it right up until probably the end of week 3.5 or 4 to swim without the snorkel, but that was successful. In fact, it's even nicer in a wetsuit, which is good because Cairns is a wetsuit swim. It kind of supports everything. And so once the coaches took a look at that up on the coast, we were then able to go, okay, well, we can swim now, which I was pretty stoked about. Still not too much riding outdoors. So my new training partner, Josh Woodridge, travelled from Sydney to come up to the Sunshine Coast, and we ended up training a lot indoors. We went outside a couple of times for some easy spins, but we still wanted to limit the chances of a reoccurrence if anything happened, and keep the risk to a minimum. But once again, we still were able to keep the volume up really high. So originally we had the idea of doing this camp for Cairns for me to be able to spend more time training with my new training partner Josh Woodridge from Sydney before we head overseas next year, and also just to push the envelope a little bit before Cairns Ironman, be able to have a training partner for the final brick and some of the last major sessions. But in the end we pretty much used it to test where I'm at with the injury. Of course we did the regular sessions we would finish training block with, but for me it gave me the comfort during that time to actually be able to see if I was actually even capable of doing the race. And so yeah, I guess the first step was to have a swim and see if I could swim without the snorkel, which we were able to do. So we're at the Noosa Aquatic Centre because the Coolum pool is shut, but it's really cool. It's got a 50 and a 25. And today I'm going to try swimming with unassisted snorkel, no snorkel. And yeah, hopefully things are going to plan a couple of weeks from Cairns. So yeah, we sort of start to need to breathe soon. But yeah, it's a good pool to be practicing at anyway. Happy to be here.
Had a good ride on the turbo this morning, and get a good swim in now.
How is it coming up to Queensland for
a lot warmer than New South Wales, so makes it good for training.
Oh, so that was probably the best swim yet. So no little niggles except for a sneeze and a cough, which really, really stung, but progress is going good.
It's initially we sort of left the paddles out of things for a little bit longer because that kind of still hurt, but really with the wetsuit on and everything, it feels fine. So now I've been swimming unrestricted for about a week or so, and I think having the opportunity to sort of test that with someone else is really good, because often as an athlete you're double guessing all the time whether you should be, I guess, pushing the limits or not, and so to have someone there that's objective and can say, no, you're still hurting, or how does it feel, allows you to kind of make that decision a bit more accurately and wisely. So we left swimming right up until the camp, which was sort of 3.5 to 4 weeks after the injury, before I even tried swimming without the snorkel. But yeah, I guess the main things we did on the camp was we spent a lot of time doing power sessions with the bike. We still kind of limited the amount of time in any individual session that I'd spend on the bike. So I guess the training over these past few weeks has been heavily focused on quite intense bike sessions on the trainer. And we also did some really fun sort of run sessions that I hadn't done before, like some long fartlek sessions. So there was a good mix of like intense training, long strength endurance sessions on the bike, and standard swims, but it all culminates typically with a brick day, which in the past I think I'd probably seen it as more like a world championship day, and I feel like I've probably overemphasized that training session. You usually finish it 11 days out and it's this big deal, and you have a day off afterwards and all this sort of stuff, but actually under the training team that I'm working with now, it's been more about, it's the thing that we always have to do, it shouldn't buckle you, and then we continue training the next day. So we were kind of lucky that we actually had quite a humid day, which works out really well for Cairns. And yeah, we were able to complete that, and I basically finished the camp feeling pretty good about stuff actually. Like we'd done some pretty long run days, like a 40k run day in there. We'd also done multiple days where we'd ridden sort of 2 sessions of bike for more than 4 hours or plus sort of thing. And and it finished with this awesome brick with a great team supporting me out there. And so I'm really confident. I think that's the main point of this, is that the camp gave me the confidence that I'm ready for Ironman Cairns. And yeah, it's easy to sort of think that, well, you've been injured, but sometimes I think there's a bit of a silver lining because you work doubly as hard at things that you can do. And so I think I've spent quite a bit of time pushing the envelope on the bike, on the trainer, doing things that I don't think I've ever been able to do before. And then I guess, there's not such an all bad thing having the snorkel in. I've been able to keep my head down, which has been something that's been a problem for me with swimming. And so, yeah, like if you look at the positives and find what you can do, I think is better than what you can't. And so I'm really happy with how we're looking for Cairns, and excited to head into race week. So the reason why I've been connected with a training partner who's asked to come up for the camp was because it's important to be able to, first of all, before I even start, I do or have been doing at least 80% of my training on my own. So I know people probably work full time and that's something they have to do a little bit of, but you often may have a swim group that you join, but if you can imagine training for 25 hours a week on your own, it's pretty full on. So basically we've been trying to find the right person for me that helps push my boundaries, but at the same, in terms of like intensity and fitness and everything else, but also at the same time, someone that I can bring up and mentor that gets something out of it as well. And so typically for me, being an elite female, it's best to have a developing male. And so I've started working with Josh Woodridge, who's from Sydney. So I'm from Brisbane. It's like an hour's flight. It's not too bad. Josh can join me occasionally. We've had 2 camps now. And I'm hopeful. For me, I get, it just lifts me up, gives me the spice and lifts me up another level with my training, particularly into Kona. Josh is going to join me in Park City, but also I can give Josh some guidance for his career, because he's only just starting, so that he gets to a point where he can then lift himself up to a new level as well at the same time. So I guess the important thing is it's not just one way. I think, like, I don't feel like I'm the sort of person that really wants to completely take from someone else, and I think it's important to give back. And yeah, I think we've come up with a solution and a way that we can do it where I get to train with someone that's stronger than me, but also they get to learn from me as well.
Setting up the wind trainers for the final brick before I head back to Sydney.
Are you excited about it?
Yeah, mate, frothing. Absolutely frothing.
That's why he was so keen to get out here and get it done early tonight. He's so
How
keen.
you feeling?
Better after an easy day. It's been a bit hectic. But it's always good to get a head start. Have all your gear ready. Just basically, we're putting our bikes in transition here.
So as we head into race week, how am I feeling? I'm pretty excited actually, because I know that although the emphasis in training sessions has been slightly different to what I'm used to, I know that the volume and the intensity is higher than what I'm used to as well. And so I know that, well, anyone can ask an Ironman when they're in deep training if they're a bit grumpy. It's because the training is obviously enough and it's working. So I'm pretty confident that I'm at the point where we're good for Cairns, and so I'm really excited this week. We're about to head on the plane tomorrow. The bike's just at the mechanic as we speak, and it's going to get tuned up so that it's perfect. I get the race set up ready, and then we head to Cairns. I really love this race. It's probably the pinnacle of my domestic season for me. This year it's a little different to last year. I haven't raced a lot leading up. I really wanted to have 6 months of development and rebuild after racing so much last year. I think you need to absorb training and actually get the enthusiasm back to race hard, particularly if you want to race well at Kona. I think that the continuous racing is a mistake. Like, it's so easy to do now. There's a race every week on the calendar, and yeah, I really think that this is going to help me come October to have had a little bit of a more chilled build up. And then we start with this, and it's a full Ironman. It gets some training in the legs effectively, and then we can then focus on what we need to work on leading into Kona. There's a little bit of competitive tension, I guess, in any regional championship. It's of the level, so yeah, I'm excited for that. I do love the Cairns Ironman. I've got a lot of mates doing the race from Red Dog Triathlon, Elite Energy. All the clubs are out there cheering, and I think that's really one of the most exciting things, I think, racing in Australia, is to see everyone cheering you on. So I've got family coming as well. I'm the defending champion, so there's a little bit of pressure too, which is fun. And yeah, just looking forward to what is tropical North Queensland in the not so hot part of the year. So yeah, this is going to be a really exciting race for me. I'm just completely thrilled to be going back, and I can't wait for Sunday. So it's a short video today. I just wanted to give you guys an update on how things have been going after the injury, how my preparation from Cairns has been going, and some of the training that we do leading into a major Ironman. If you've got questions, put them in the comments, and I really look forward to seeing everybody at Cairns. Oh, I changed my hair. It's brown. It's actually naturally brown. So I was just getting totally sick of doing like my hair all the time, and so this is easier. But yeah, change is as good as a holiday, maybe. Don't know what to do with my hair. I know. It's like low, so I feel like I'm not my hands like